There are few Nickelodeon shows that manage to reach SpongeBob and Avatar levels of popularity. But in 2016, a new show managed to take kids and animation fans by surprise. The Loud House has been praised for many things. From its lighthearted humor, to its relatable stories, to its enjoyable cast of characters.
Lucy's hugging someone! Get the camera!
Of course, having your main cast be a family of 13 means that there are quite a few characters to choose from, and we decided it was about time to rank them on the morality scale. Who is good, who is evil, and who just falls somewhere in between. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is The Loud House, Good to Evil. As usual, we'll be starting with the most pure and noble character and working our way down. These characters are the good. Our gold medal of good is actually going to our newest Loud House character, Angus. First seen in the Loud House movie, Angus was the groundskeeper of Loud Castle. From the moment the Louds meet him, he's seen as an incredibly friendly and helpful guy. We even see him running around with a ladder to help people out of their stairless houses. After a brief musical number, he leads the Loud family to their ancestors' castle, inviting them to stay for as long as they want. Unlike Morag, who quickly grows annoyed with the family's antics, Angus takes it in stride and wants to do all he can to make the Louds feel comfortable and happy during their stay. This is especially true with Lincoln, as we see Angus trying to guide and even comfort Lincoln throughout the movie.
Our people want you to be the Duke.
He tries to teach him what it means to be a worthy Duke, and encourages him to do what's best for the village and not for himself. Even after Lincoln messes up, he comforts him instead of turning his back on the boy like the other villagers do. When Morag tries to take the title of Duke away from the Loud family and become the Duchess of Loch Loud, Angus is the one that calls her out and reveals her lies. In the end, it's Angus that is given the rightful title of Duke, with Lincoln recognizing just how much he cared for the people and saw how much good Angus could do if he was in power. Though he may have just started out as a simple groundskeeper, he is a character that not only cares, but also takes care of other people. For these reasons, we're giving him the title of Most Good, as well as a gold medal to go along with his new crown. The silver medal of good is going to Lenny Loud. Although Lenny can be incredibly naive and certainly isn't the brightest Loud in the bunch, she more than makes up for it with her kind heart. When she's actually made aware of someone needing help, Lenny will lend a hand without hesitation. Not even her fear of spiders stood in the way of her helping out her younger brother. Despite being afraid of the pet spider, Lenny still stopped the exterminator from killing it so that Lincoln's reputation wouldn't be ruined. When it came to her family getting sick, she cared more about helping them feel better than protecting herself. The episode Shop Girl took her kindness to a new level, with Lenny helping out strangers with their fashion, which helped her get a job at a clothing store. Though her siblings had tried to teach her to be more assertive, Lenny found that she enjoyed being nice more than being tough. But for all her kind moments, she has her flaws as well. And we aren't just talking about her forgetfulness or her dumb moments. Like the other Loud sisters, she can sometimes be petty and will start arguments or fights, especially when it comes to fashion. There was also the time she tried to ruin Lori's acceptance into Fairway University because she didn't want Lori to leave home. This was pretty awful, but Lenny thankfully realized her mistakes and helped Lori get her scholarship back. Given that this is the worst thing that she's done, and it wasn't done out of malice, we still felt that she deserved the silver medal of good. We have to give our bronze medal of good to Bobby. Given that he's happy to be called something as embarrassing as Boo Boo Bear, it's evident that Bobby is an extremely caring boyfriend. Whenever Lori needs something or plans something, Bobby goes along with it and offers all the support he can. He'll give advice and comfort to Lori when she's really upset, like when she felt like she couldn't make it as a city girl. He does his best to be the best partner, from planning surprises to saving up for dates. That's not to say he's completely blinded by Lori though. When Lincoln humiliated his sister, to the point of making her cry, Bobby briefly broke up with Lori. Even though this decision clearly broke his heart, he was willing to do this in order to support his little sister and stand in solidarity with her. Bobby is also extremely dedicated to his family's bodega. We can appreciate someone who stands by his family. And speaking of family, outside of the previously mentioned instance, Bobby is also incredibly friendly with Lincoln and sees him as a younger brother. He also quickly forgives Lincoln and the rest of the Loud siblings for accusing him of cheating on Lori, not taking too much offense to it and understanding that they were just looking out for her. All of these qualities make him a pretty all-around great guy. Following him is another Lori fan, Clyde. Clyde is known as Lincoln's best friend, always helping out and being his wingman in whatever plan Lincoln has. He's also just a nice kid in general, if a bit neurotic and quick to panic. Clyde is almost always shown to be caring, patient, and supportive, whether that's towards Lincoln or his sisters. When he was learning how to be a big brother, Clyde was able to step up and help Lana get down from a tree, even comforting her as they climbed down. Though he at one point had a bit of an obsessive crush on Lori, Clyde never crossed any major lines with it and even put in the work to break his crush on Lori when he saw how much it, and the nosebleeds that came with it, was upsetting her. There was also an episode where Clyde was afraid that Lincoln had made Lily his new best friend, leading to him becoming a bit jealous.
What's more important than hanging out with this guy?
But in the end, even he couldn't stay mad at Lily for long. While he'll sometimes get emotional or feel conflicted, Clyde will still try to do what he feels is best for other characters, and is almost never truly selfish. Clyde was even willing to go to magic shows for Lincoln's sake, despite not enjoying them himself. Then, when it seemed like Lincoln was going to move to Scotland in the movie, Clyde put on a smile and gave his support despite being heartbroken over his best friend leaving. While many other characters have had moments of mischief or have made serious mistakes, Clyde never seems to have these moments. He's just a good kid with a good heart, and the best friend a kid like Lincoln could ask for. Next, we have Lily Loud. Being the baby of the family, Lily is seen as the most innocent, as babies usually are. But, while she may not do much, the things that Lily does do are almost always sweet and kind. She's often seen as the most well-behaved of her siblings and rarely misbehaves on purpose. She does have some bad moments though, like when she posted an embarrassing selfie of Lori in retaliation for her sister accidentally stepping on her toy phone. In another instance, Lily pretended that she wasn't potty trained so that she wouldn't have to go to preschool. But again, for a baby, this is understandable and not evil, just a bit sneaky. Lily can also be brave, which we see in the movie when she helps Lincoln defeat Morag. She loves Lincoln and all of her siblings a ton, always wanting to be a part of their adventures despite her age.
I love you, Lincoln!
Next up, we have Albert, or Pop Pop. Like many other grandparent characters, Albert is loving and kind towards all 11 of his grandchildren, though seems to have a special bond with Lincoln. Though Albert wasn't so sure about it at first, Lincoln was able to persuade him to sneak out of his strict retirement home and go have a fun day out, and the two of them have a great time. Even with this special bond, Albert will still make time to attend the various events and performances of his granddaughters, not being one to play favorites. Albert is also pretty confident and can even be daring at times, though he thankfully isn't too reckless. All in all, Albert is a pretty great guy, acting as someone his family looks up to. Lincoln even calls him his hero. That is definitely some high praise. However, we had to knock him down a few spots for how he acted in the episode Instagram. When his grandkids grow frustrated with his girlfriend, they decide to try and break the two of them up. They do this by making it seem like another man in their retirement home had kissed her. When Albert sees the fake photo, he actually starts chasing Seymour around the pool, attempting to hit him with a pool noodle before eventually pushing him into the pool. But we can't dock him too many points, since his reaction was understandable, and he did apologize to Seymour afterwards. Next are the Loud parents, Lynn Sr. and Rita. It really is impressive how well these two manage as parents, considering how chaotic their kids are. Raising 11 kids definitely isn't easy, but they seem to succeed far more often than they fail. Starting off, we have to give them credit for never playing favorites with their kids. Even if they can't always spend time with all of them, Lynn Sr. and Rita still remember to make time and keep their promises to their kids, whether that's getting them to an activity on time or helping with homework. They also try to look out for their kids and do what they think is best for them. Although they briefly tried to push their kids into being more well-rounded, so that they'd look better on their college applications, it didn't take them long to realize that it was more important for their kids to just be happy. They have plenty of other great parenting moments too, both as individuals and as a pair. However, no parent is perfect, and these two are no exception. Lynn Sr. can sometimes be a bit overly emotional or oblivious, which leads to him getting carried away. Examples of this include the time he became addicted to social media, much to the detriment of his family, or when he gets carried away teaching Luann how to cook.
They're underbaked.
Ouch. I deserve that.
Rita, meanwhile, can make some pretty questionable choices, like going undercover at her daughter's school, or going on a misdemeanor crime spree because she'd liked doing community service so much. There was also the time they tried to make their own secret bathroom so that they wouldn't have to share with their kids anymore. While this is understandable, it still wasn't exactly great that they were being sneaky and secretive. Another time, after their kids pushed them to exercise more, these two ended up taking getting fit to an extreme and tried to force their kids into a more active lifestyle too. Many people have also questioned their actions in the episode No Such Luck, and yes, even though the rest of the family believed Lincoln was bad luck, his parents really should have known better.
I wish you could come, but with your bad luck, who knows what could go wrong?
You can't exactly overlook kicking an 11-year-old out of the house for being a jinx. So yeah, as parents, they've made some pretty notable mistakes and can definitely get carried away. Still, both of them try hard as parents and clearly care a lot about their kids, which makes them pretty good in our book. We finally come to the main character of the Loud House, Lincoln Loud. Like most preteen boys, Lincoln's morality can be a pretty mixed bag depending on the episode. Let's start with the good. Lincoln is the self-proclaimed man with a plan, and uses these plans to help his friends and family with their problems. While these may not always work as planned, we know that Lincoln will always put his best foot forward and try to do what he can to help.
Battle stations, guys! We've got a burglar on the premises!
Additionally, for all the chaos and trouble they may cause for him, Lincoln still loves his sisters a ton and is often giving them advice or helping them out. Though he'll still care about his own activities and hobbies, it's pretty common for Lincoln to sacrifice his own happiness in order to make someone else he cares about happy. As for the bad, well, some of Lincoln's plans have a bit of a dark side to them. There are times where they could qualify as Lincoln being sneaky, selfish, or manipulative. He can also sometimes get a bit of an ego and take advantage of a situation. While trying to figure out that year's family vacation, Lincoln took advantage of his status as the tiebreaker to get special treatment from his sisters. Another time, he pretended to be bad luck to get out of attending his siblings' events. He also briefly became a pretty big jerk when he won the chance to ride in a limo for a day, though some of that was due to being influenced by another limo driver. Additionally, because Lincoln sees himself as the problem solver, he'll sometimes butt into things that don't need his help. This was seen the most during Lori and Lenny's big fight, where Lincoln's attempts to help just made things worse. Lincoln can also sometimes be reckless, like in the movie where he decided to ride a dragon through Loch Loud just to get the attention of the villagers back on him. Thankfully, Lincoln's pretty good at learning from his mistakes, and for the most part manages to remain someone who's well-meaning and has a good heart. So we couldn't ask for a better main character. Moving on to Lana Loud. This tomboy twin is both the family's resident mechanic and animal lover. Though she may have some gross habits that can be a bit obnoxious, Lana manages to be much nicer than her twin, Lola. This mostly stems from how much she cares about animals, like when she tried to rescue a bunch of frogs from being dissected, or when she petitioned to save a lake that a pair of endangered fish were living in. She also happily helps the family out quite a bit when it comes to fixing their various vehicles or unclogging the toilet. In terms of flaws, outside of how gross she can be sometimes, Lana doesn't have many. She does argue with her twin quite a bit, but that's to be expected. And often Lola is just as responsible for the fight as Lana is. That said, Lana can sometimes be shown to be prideful, like when she competed in a dog show and tried to change Charles in order to win. She quickly regretted this, however, once she started missing the old Charles. Another one of her not-so-great moments was when she convinced her siblings to go out to the Burp and Burger while it was snowing heavily just so she'd have a chance of winning a contest. Even with the danger of the blizzard, Lana pushes her siblings to stay, which leads to them getting snowed in. Thankfully, Lana eventually realizes how much trouble her blind ambition to win the contest caused, and she even ends up sacrificing her winning wrapper in order to save her siblings. Even when she's at her worst, though, Lana is never really malicious, and still tends to be one of the nicer Loud sisters, even with her immaturity. Moving on to everyone's favorite rocker, up next is Luna. Often speaking in rock and roll references, Luna has a huge passion for music. This can often be both a huge strength as well as a huge weakness. Throughout the series, we see Luna use her musical talents for special occasions, often writing songs for people's birthdays or other celebrations, or even just playing background music to energize her siblings. She loves music so much that whenever her siblings go to their first concert, Luna insists on tagging along to try and make it a great experience for them. This often leads to not so great results, but we can appreciate the good intentions. However, because of her dream of being a rock star, Luna can sometimes let her passions and ambitions drive her into making some bad decisions. In House Music, she tries to form a band with her family, but kicks them all out when their lack of talent frustrates her.
You're all out of my band!
She even makes her dad cry in the episode. In another episode, Band Together, Luna abandoned her bandmates when a manager gave her a chance to play with professionals. Both of these times, though, Luna is able to realize her mistake and makes up for it, which counts for something. Still, these episodes give off the sense that she can sometimes struggle with keeping herself in check when it comes to promises of fame. Luna can also be a bit aggressive with her music. She gets agitated when her siblings try to stop her from playing or turn off her speakers, and she's even been known to cause power outages with her amps. But while she may sometimes come off as overeager or over the top, both she and her music still tend to leave a positive impact on her family and friends. Next, we have the breakout character Ronnie Ann. Compared to where she originally started out in the series, Ronnie Ann has come a long way. Originally, she was Lincoln's bully, constantly tormenting him at school by doing things like sticking gum in his hair, tying his shoelaces together, and shoving a sandwich down his pants. She also gives him a black eye when Lincoln tries to kiss her but apologizes afterwards. It's then that it's revealed that Ronnie Ann may actually have a crush on Lincoln, though things take a bad turn when she catches Lincoln, saying that he'd rather lick the bathroom floor than kiss her. Thankfully, the two of them are able to make up once Lincoln properly apologizes, and even share a proper first kiss. In return, Ronnie Ann acts like she doesn't like him so that Lincoln's friends stop teasing him. From this point on, the two of them have a much healthier friendship and become extremely close, though Ronnie Ann still messes with Lincoln from time to time. She even sends him a pie that splats in his face, pretending it's a gift. Outside of a relationship with Lincoln, we learn that Ronnie Ann is extremely caring towards her family. Because of her mom's late hours as a nurse, Ronnie Ann takes it upon herself to make sure chores are done and meals are cooked. She also keeps an eye on her brother, Bobby, and reminds him when he has a shift at one of his various jobs. Throughout the rest of the series, and especially in her spin-off show, we see Ronnie Ann go from a typical tough girl and bully to one of the most notable characters in the Loud House universe, which lands her firmly in the good tier. Moving on to Lucy Loud. Though she may not seem like the friendliest girl, Lucy has quite a bit of a heart underneath all of that gloom. For the most part, Lucy is very quiet, to the point where she's accidentally scaring people who don't notice that she's there.
No matter what I do, my siblings walk all over me.
Though she has an interest in all things creepy, Lucy can also be pretty sensitive, leading to her feeling sad or frustrated whenever her family doesn't understand her or makes her feel left out. Other times, she may feel enough to take action, like when she tried to curse her family into silence so that they wouldn't be able to talk over her anymore. Another time, Lucy tried to purposefully sabotage her favorite show so that she wouldn't have to deal with Lori and Lenny's annoying behavior, since they had gotten into the show too due to the new cute actor. In both of these instances though, Lucy regretted her actions and tried to make up for them. Despite her seemingly numb demeanor, Lucy can actually be quite compassionate. Lucy can also sometimes use her spookiness to her advantage, like when she and her family used her haunted maze to get back at some local bullies. It should also be noted that in the Loud House movie, it was Lucy, as well as her ancestor's ghost, that first suspected Morag was up to something. She had also been the one to try and figure out why their ancestors left Scotland in the first place. And if it hadn't been for Lucy's connection with her ancestor's ghost, the Louds may never have found out. Though it may be easy to forget about her at times, the things that we do remember Lucy for are enough to keep her in the good. Next up, we have the oldest Loud sibling, Lori Loud. While she may be the oldest, Lori isn't always the most mature, nor is she the most moral. If anything, she can be pretty bossy, with a temper that can even rival Lola's. When it comes to babysitting, Lori rules with absolute authority, understanding how chaotic her family can be. However, she does learn to compromise a bit. She's also incredibly possessive of her room and her things, especially her phone. This can also tie into Lori's occasional selfishness, which can drive her to make some pretty questionable decisions. Like when Lenny was learning how to drive and Lori tried to sabotage her efforts so that she could remain the only loud sibling with a license.
Never check your mirrors.
It's also pretty easy to make Lori jealous, like when Bobby started hanging out with Lincoln or when Clyde began hanging out with Lenny. But even with her faults, Lori is an excellent leader and is often leading the way whenever one of her siblings is in trouble. She can also be incredibly caring towards her siblings as well as her boyfriend, and can usually be a great source of support. Like when she helped Lola work through her nerves regarding her first non-Royal Woods pageant, or when she gave Lincoln free tokens for helping her get a job at the Games and Grub. Though she can sometimes be rough or over-emotional, we acknowledge that it can't always be easy being the oldest sibling. For the most part, we feel that Lori handles her role as the oldest with grace. Finishing off our good section, we have Lincoln's friends, Liam, Rusty, Zach, and Stella. Because they don't get a ton of focus as individuals and seem to share the same morality level, we decided to group them all together. Simply put, these four serve their role as friends pretty well. Whenever Lincoln and Clyde are dealing with a conflict at school, they're there to lend a hand, usually with a bit of commentary added in. They even came all the way to Canada when Lincoln asked for their help, showing how loyal they can be. For the three boys specifically, they once tried to help Lincoln get back out there and have a fun day when they thought he was missing Ronnie Ann. However, they also briefly turned their backs on Lincoln after his sister, Lisa, was moved up to their grade and started being a nuisance. So maybe their loyalty isn't that strong. We should also mention that Rusty wasn't always the nicest, given that he made fun of Lincoln's girly bike in his debut episode. Thankfully, this was him at his worst, and none of the three boys have done anything too awful to Lincoln or Clyde. As for Stella, though she briefly caused infighting between the boys when she was first introduced, she has since become just another member of the group and seems to fit in with them perfectly. We're putting these four at the end of our good section since, again, they don't get a ton of focus, so we can't really judge how moral they are. We can just say that they make for some pretty good friends. And that wraps up our good section. Now we move into the neutral territory. This is the gray area. Starting out, we have Principal Huggins. As the name implies, he's the principal of Royal Woods Elementary School. As such, he takes his role as principal very seriously, and can sometimes be seen as stern. One of his biggest roles came in the episode Pulp Friction, where he confiscated Lincoln's comic that he had made for a contest. As it turns out, Huggins deliberately took their comic away in order to eliminate them from the competition, since he had wanted to win the contest too. He explained that, as a big Ace Savvy fan who didn't have very many friends growing up, it was his dream to meet the creator, a dream that would have been granted through winning the contest. While we can't approve of his cheating methods, we can understand where he was coming from and can appreciate him coming clean in the end. In another episode, he goes after the Louds when Lana decides to free a bunch of frogs that were meant for dissection. However, he is later convinced by Lincoln and Lana to let the frogs live, showing that while he may be a stickler for the rules, he is willing to compromise. While a lot of cartoon principals are portrayed as mean or unfair, Huggins manages to remain reasonable while only being occasionally antagonistic. Next up, we have the neighbor, Mr. Gross. He is the grumpy next-door neighbor to the Loud family, always yelling at them to keep it down. He could also be a stickler for the rules and his own boundaries. Whenever something of theirs would go over his fence, he would claim "my yard, my property," and take the item for himself.
My yard, my property!
However, after the Louds helped him reunite with his family over the holidays, he seemed to soften up a little, even giving Lincoln his old fearsome Flyer 1000 sled to make up for accidentally destroying Lincoln's. In later episodes, he'll agree to do favors for the Louds, but only in exchange for food like lasagna or muffins. While he may not interact with the family much, when he does interact with them, he tends to be civil for the most part. He He even becomes Lynn's sports watching buddy, and the two genuinely enjoy their time together, even when they're rooting for different teams. He can still be a bit of a grouch at times, but it's not nearly as bad as before. As such, we felt that he didn't deserve to be any lower. Next up, we have the always sassy Scoots. Though a minor character, we felt that we couldn't not mention Scoots, given how frequently she appears. Depending on the day, she can either be helpful, be a hindrance, or just be unapologetically snarky. She'll often make comments about people before speeding away on her scooter, usually being pretty blunt with her words. Scoots also tends to get in trouble with mall security for speeding on her scooter, still doing it no matter how many times she's put in mall jail.
Adios, mall cop!
She'll also use her scooter to mess with people, purposely going slow if people are honking at her. It was also revealed that she had swindled a middle school-aged Flip, which possibly led him to being a swindler himself. So yeah, she can be a bit of a jerk. But while she may seem pretty uncaring on the surface, she has had her moments of being helpful. Being a friend of Albert's, she helped him and Lincoln sneak back into the retirement home, and then stood up to the home's manager when she threatened to kick Albert out. In another episode, Scoots gave Lincoln and Clyde a lift, allowing them to make it home before curfew. These moments keep her from being an antagonist, placing her firmly in the middle of our gray area. We're ranking the second youngest sister, Lisa Loud, next. Like many child genius characters before her, Lisa can often take her experiments and her scientific interest to an extreme. She once tried to use Lily as a test subject, believing it was okay because she was going to give Lily a sucker afterwards. She'll also sometimes take DNA samples from her siblings without their consent. Because of her intelligence, she can also sometimes be egocentric, as well as boorish and condescending with other people. Though she may come off as blunt, Lisa seems to view herself as incredibly honest and was even horrified by how many lies her family told in the episode House of Lies.
Truth is the foundation of any functioning society.
But even with this honesty, Lisa can sometimes be manipulative. Probably her worst moment was in the episode Friend or Foe, where she manipulated a girl named Darcy into befriending her just to get an A in social skills. However, when Darcy found out and was upset by her plan, Lisa did feel guilty and decided to be Darcy's actual friend, showing that even with her science-focused mind, she isn't heartless. This caring nature was shown again when she rescued Flip from Incognito Labs, not wanting him to suffer or be hurt even for the sake of science. Though she's somewhat reluctant about it, she'll also help her siblings when they need her skills or her smarts. While we still can't place her any higher up due to her more questionable actions, we can say with confidence that at the very least, Lisa isn't an evil mad scientist. It may be a low bar to clear, but it's still something. From science to sports, next is Lynn Loud Jr. Lynn is the family's pro athlete, and as such tends to turn everything into a competition. She can be a pretty sore winner and even worse loser, though to be fair, she's trying to be better about it. Still, Lynn's bad attitude can be a major issue for her siblings. In addition to being competitive, Lynn can be aggressive, prideful, immature, and seems to love picking on her younger brother especially. This can include things like pantsing him to the dreaded Dutch oven. Still, for all the grief she gives Lincoln, she does care about him too. When Lincoln and Clyde were preparing to enter middle school, Lynn tried to give them advice on being tough and confident, not wanting them to suffer the same way she had when she first entered middle school. Though Lynn's advice wasn't the greatest, it was still done with the best intentions. We should also mention that, as of the episode Net Gains, it's possible that Lynn has finally managed to learn the meaning of true sportsmanship. In that episode, she was able to accept her team losing as long as they'd still had fun. A few episodes later, she tried to be supportive of her friend Margot's win, despite her own jealousy. We can't really fault her for having these rough patches, especially given that she tries to work on them. As such, we felt we couldn't put her any lower. Landing several rankings under her twin, we have Lola Loud. If there was one word to describe her, it would be princess. As the family's pageant queen, there are times where Lola is a bit of a royal pain.
You wouldn't want to make me mad.
She can be pretty materialistic as well as self-centered, to the point that she didn't even let her twin, Lana, have a say in their birthday party until they turned 7. For the most part, Lola won't let anyone stop her from getting what she wants, though she will feel regret if she goes too far. Additionally, she has quite the temper, and episodes like Undie Pressure and Sound of Silence show that she's a pretty great schemer too. She isn't all bad though. For one, while they argue quite a bit, Lola is extremely close to her twin and will do anything for her. This love extends to the rest of her siblings too. In one episode, her siblings decided they wanted to be homeschooled like she was. Unfortunately, all of them ended up slacking off on their studying. When they asked for help, she actually stayed up and helped them, even if it meant failing her own test. In another episode, A Taddler's Tale, she realized that it was wrong to blackmail her siblings into spending time with her. With this in mind, Lola ended up taking the blame for everything her siblings did and getting herself grounded, while also promising to do what she could to regain the trust of her siblings. Her kindness can extend to people outside the family too, like when she tried to help a girl named Melly become less shy. Lola even ends up forfeiting one of her pageants so that she can spend time with Melly. Moments like this show that while she may not always be the most moral, and can sometimes be sneaky or mean, she still has a good heart deep down. Finishing off the Loud sisters, we're ranking Luann Loud next. It was hard deciding whether Lola or Luann would be ranked as the least good Loud sibling, as both characters have had their share of good and not so good moments. Ultimately, we decided that Luann's bad moments outweighed Lola's bad moments. Of course, we're talking about Luann's series of April Fool's episodes. When it comes to this particular holiday, her pranks go from annoying but harmless to actually cruel and kind of terrifying.
I shaved the best for last.
These pranks were bad enough that her family tried to send her away on that day, only for Luann to torment them from the shadows. The year after that, the Loud family hired a stunt double family to endure all of the horrible April Fool's Day pranks, but Luann was able to turn the plan around and use the stunt family to ridicule the original family. That instance was definitely the most messed up, and Luann seemed to realize this too when she saw her family packing up the home and pretending they were too embarrassed to stay in Royal Woods anymore. It was at that point that Luann actually apologized and even promised to never prank again. Thankfully, these April Fool's Day episodes are Luann at her absolute worst, and as such, she's been able to have some pretty nice moments outside of this holiday. One of her brightest moments was when she encouraged Lucy's poetry and helped grow her confidence when it came to performing. Although Luann was briefly jealous of Lucy's quick success, Luann was still able to set this jealousy aside and made her support clear to her little sister. Luann has also made it a personal rule that while she may record people getting pranked or embarrassed, she'll never upload her recordings to the internet without permission from the person she recorded. While she may laugh at others or come off as a nuisance, she mostly does it with good intentions and usually doesn't mean any serious harm, as she just wants to make people laugh. Just barely staying out of the bad tier is Flip. He's the owner of the local food and fuel station, and as a businessman, he tends to be pretty stingy and cheap. For the brief time that Lincoln and Clyde worked for him, Flip encouraged them to compete for higher-ranking staff positions, essentially tricking them into working harder for less pay.
I got 2 bozo interns working their tails off.
He also doesn't seem to care much about others and tends to focus on making a profit, even if it means cutting corners. His gas station is pretty disgusting too, and he has been known to sell expired milk and puts his socks in the melted cheese machine. Gross. But for as awful as Flip can be, he never quite crosses that line into actual villainy, and has even managed to have some nice moments as well. When the Louds and the Santiagos were trying to figure out their Thanksgiving arrangements, it was Flip that gave them the idea to alternate hosting each year. He also was willing to help Lisa with her presentation in exchange for giving the food and fuel publicity. In another episode where the Loud kids accidentally injure him with Vanzilla, although Flip does take advantage of their hospitality, he also tells Rita and Lynn Sr. to go easy on the kids, letting them know that he appreciated the job they did taking care of him. The guy even gets his own Christmas Carol episode, complete with a montage of him trying to make up for all the swindling he did at the beginning of the episode. So yeah, while Flip has a lot of questionable qualities, and we do mean a lot, we can't necessarily call him a villain. And that wraps up our gray area. As we delve into the bad to evil tier, we're happy to say that in a show as simple and relatable as The Loud House, there are hardly any characters that we'd say qualify as truly bad or evil. As such, we only have 3 rankings in this tier. The bronze medal of evil goes to the Miller family. These guys are a pretty absurd example of an antagonist, but we felt that we had to give them a mention just because they're so absurd. When we first meet them in the episode Family Bonding, the Millers seem to be a perfectly normal family. As such, everyone seems to love them at first. Everyone except Lincoln, that is. He suspects that there's something fishy about this so-called normal family. As it turns out, he was right. It's revealed that the Millers were a family of spies that worked for an evil organization called the Secret Underground Society of Peach Entrepreneurs Nixing Sour Exports, or Suspense for short. The group's main goal? To destroy all cherries so that Georgia Peaches could rule the world. Yeah, for such a fairly grounded show, this was a pretty strange twist. The family is defeated, but ultimately escapes, although the FBI is apparently searching for them. We only see the Millers in this one episode. While we aren't sure how high destroying cherries ranks on a scale of evil, we suppose that it ranks somewhere on there. So we're giving the cherry-hating family the bronze medal by default. We give the silver medal of evil to Dr. Linnaeus. Another one-time baddie, we meet the Doctor in the Lisa-focused episode Blinded by Science. She is a scientist from Incognito Laboratories, and after she sees a presentation on Flip and all of his strange biological oddities, she asks Lisa if she can borrow Flip for further research. This research ends up being pretty cruel. She treats Flip pretty poorly while he's in her care, seeing him only as a test subject instead of another human. It's then revealed that Incognito Labs specializes in space travel and astronomy, and that the Doctor's main plan for Flip is to send him into space without a spacesuit in order to examine how the human body would react outside of Earth's atmosphere.
We're going to shoot the subject into space without a spacesuit.
You don't need a doctorate in biology to know that's pretty screwed up. Luckily, Lisa is able to free Flip in the end, sending the Doctor and her men into space, never to be seen again. So you gotta love the irony. Finally, wrapping things up, our gold medal of evil goes to Morag. While yes, the Loud House has very few villains in general, we feel that even if she had any real competition, the movie villain would still come out on top. All Morag wanted was to enjoy the peace and quiet of Loud Castle. This peace was ruined, though, once the rightful owners returned and brought their usual brand of chaos. At first, she tries to deal with it as best as she can, telling herself that the Louds will only be there for a week. However, when it becomes evident that the Loud family is staying permanently, she decides to take things into her own hands. Following the lead of her old ancestor, Old Aggie, Morag digs up an old gem and uses it to help her enact her evil plan. Throughout the second act of the movie, we see her manipulate both Lincoln and his sisters, leading to Lincoln deciding to put on a dragon riding performance for the people of Loch Loud.
Time for the real spectacle.
Once this happens, Morag uses the gem to control his dragon, and forces her to destroy much of the village, not caring if it puts Lincoln and many other people in danger. Afterwards, Morag decides to crown herself Duchess and uses the dragon to attack the village once again, driving everyone else away in the hopes of having the now quiet Loch Loud to herself. When the Loud siblings decide to fight back, she does all she can to get them out of the way permanently. At one point, she nearly kills the entire Loud family with Leela's fire breath. Only a few minutes later, she pushes Lincoln and Lily off a cliff in an attempt to get the Duke's crown. Out of our 3 bad tier rankings, Morag is the only one who attempted to kill the main characters multiple times. She's also selfish, manipulative, and all around heartless. For these reasons, we of course had to give her the title of Most Evil Loud House Character. With our morality scale completed, let's hand out some medals. Starting out with the Darwin Medal, we're reluctantly giving it to Lenny. While we admire her for her kind heart, we can't deny that she's also a total airhead. We're giving the Greed Medal to Lola. For someone as materialistic and occasionally money-hungry as she can be, this medal really fits her to a T. The Lust Medal is going to go to Clyde. While it may not play a big part in the later seasons, we just can't forget how big his crush on Laurie was. Speaking of Laurie, we're giving her the Envy Medal. Whether it's over her boyfriend, her siblings, or her siblings' friends, she can get jealous pretty easily, more so than any of the other Loud sisters. As for the Sloth Medal, we're gonna give that one to Flip. The guy took advantage of 2 11-year-olds and forced them to clean his store so that he wouldn't have to. If that's not lazy, we don't know what is. The Wrath Medal is going to Morag. This lady went from annoyed to angry enough to try to kill a whole family pretty fast, so we can say that she definitely deserves this medal. And finally, the Pride Medal goes to the always competitive Lynn Jr. Between her constant boasting and her attitude regarding winning, Lynn is easily the most proud member of her family and the entire show. But let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.